I've heard stories about people faking their own deaths before. It's not a new phenomenon. Usually, it's for what turns out to be relatively harmless reasons, like getting out of an extremely toxic relationship, or an abusive one, or abandoning your family, which is a very poor choice, but not exactly illegal. Most of the time, the ones we hear about are people attempting some type of insurance fraud, or criminals faking their own deaths to escape accountability for their crimes. They usually get caught, sometimes quickly. Sometimes it could take years or even decades. The overwhelming majority of the latter category generally tend to fake their deaths before or during their trials. This isn't that kind of story, though. I've looked everywhere I can think of to find a picture of the man in question, but I don't think there's any publicly available, so I've had zero luck in that department. That said, in 2019, 25-year-old Robert Berger of Huntington, New York, pled guilty to possession of a stolen vehicle and attempted grand larceny of a truck, both felonies. He was scheduled to be sentenced in October of that year and was expected to get about a year of prison time. Then his lawyer's office delivered a notice to the prosecutor that Berger died of suicide in September, along with a death certificate out of New Jersey. A very official-looking death certificate. Case closed. No need for further court proceedings, right? Not exactly. Upon closer inspection, the prosecutor noticed something wasn't quite right with the death certificate. The seal was there, the signature looked legitimate, the border, barcode, and filing number were all present. So what was the issue? Why wouldn't the nagging suspicion something was off go away? The death certificate was almost perfect, but for one small detail. The kind of detail nearly everyone overlooks when typing: a misspelled word. Look right here. Registry is spelled wrong. Just to be absolutely certain, the prosecutor called the Office of Vital Statistics and Registry of the New Jersey Department of Health to verify whether or not the death certificate was valid. And surprise, surprise, it was not. Meanwhile, Berger didn't exactly turn over a new leaf while he was dead. In November of 2019, the dead man was arrested in Delaware County, Pennsylvania for providing a false identity to law enforcement, among other charges, and was sentenced to a year for those charges. His perfidy was then discovered. He was extradited back to New York in early 2020 to face a charge of offering a false instrument for filing, which can garner up to 4 years in prison. Just another felony to go along with the felony charges to which he had already pled guilty. Unfortunately, I can't find any information on any sentences he may have received, but given the sheer number of felonies Berger committed, I hope they were all the maximum allowed and that they ran consecutively. How are you smart enough to forge an almost perfect death certificate, but not smart enough to use the spell checker on that forgery? Can you imagine getting caught, at least partly, by a spelling error? But it was that spelling error that put Robert Berger firmly in the chosen few.